Today has to be, what is it, the no good, very bad, rotten, dirty, whatever day for Donald Trump. As he sits in court day after day, being tortured, as Jesse Waters refers to it, he is being in greater legal jeopardy in other states as we go. So it's not just the federal cases that he's facing right now. It's not just the documents case or the election interference January 6th case. It's not just the Georgia election interference case. It's not just the Manhattan hush money case or the civil case with the attorney general there. There's also the case in Arizona that I talked about at the beginning of the day in a video. And now Michigan. On the same day, Michigan and Arizona announced they're probing and they are indicting big-time names in the Republican Party for their effort to end democracy in the United States. I know I say that all the time, and a lot of people do get irritated with it. Well, yeah, that's just a little exaggerative. It's hyperbole. It's not true. They didn't really try to end democracy. And it just, I wish people would dispense with that attitude and that line of thinking, because if Donald Trump had been put back into office extra democratically, extra constitutionally, that would have ended democracy. That wouldn't have been a democratic manner with which to be placed in office. He didn't win the election. Democracy would be over, or at least a path to not using democracy to install leaders in our country. They were attempting to end democracy just like they do election after election after election after election through voter suppression of voters of color, young voters. Voter ID, the entire intent behind that isn't for election security. It's so certain groups of people will be less likely to vote. That's what they want. And now Michigan is on the election interference case with the grand jury. Here's from the Detroit News. Trump is a co-conspirator in Michigan's 2020 false electors plot, state investigator says. Former President Donald Trump and some of his top aides were co-conspirators in the plot to submit a certificate falsely claiming he won Michigan's 2020 election. An investigator for Attorney General Dana Nessel's office testified Wednesday as new details of the effort to prosecute the alleged scheme took place in two battleground states. Detroit News. That's too long a sentence. That's too many words in a single sentence. Come on. The whole paragraph is a sentence. Howard Schock, a special agent for Nessel, said Trump, Mark Meadows, who was Trump's chief of staff, and Rudy Giuliani, who was his personal lawyer, are considered quote unquote unindicted co-conspirators in Michigan's false electors case. Schock's comments came the same day that 11 Arizona Republican electors and 7 other Trump allies, including Mark Meadows and Rudy Giuliani, were indicted in Arizona. In total, over the last 2 days, Schock, the Michigan investigator, identified 11 conspirators who haven't been charged with a crime. That means Michigan prosecutors believe they participated to some extent in the alleged scheme to commit forgery by creating a false document asserting Trump had won Michigan's 16 electoral votes when Democrat Joe Biden had won them. Schock's testimony highlighted the 6th day of preliminary examinations in Ingham County District Court, and Nessel's office pursues felony charges against a group of Republican activists who signed a certificate of votes claiming Trump had won. Claiming Trump had won when Trump had not. In July, Nessel, a Democrat, charged the 16 Republican electors with 8 felonies each, including conspiracy to commit forgery, which would carry a penalty of up to 14 years behind bars. But Nessel's office has said its investigation is ongoing. 11 Republicans in Arizona who submitted a similar false certificate were charged Wednesday with conspiracy, fraud, and forgery, according to the Associated Press. The Arizona grand jury indictment described an unindicted co-conspirator who is clearly Trump. In Michigan on Wednesday morning, lawyer Dwayne Silverhorn, who's representing elector Michelle Lundgren of Detroit, read a list of names asking Schock if the individuals were unindicted co-conspirators, in the state's probe. Schock said yes to Trump, Giuliani, and Meadows. Trump is set to be the Republican presidential nominee this fall, and final paragraph here, Schock also said yes, that they are a co-conspirator, to former Michigan Republican Party chairwoman Laura Cox and the names of other Michigan Republicans, including former State House Speaker Tom Leonard, his wife Janelle Leonard, and Stu Sandler, a GOP consultant and legal advisor to Cox. Silverthorne, or is it Silverthorne, didn't ask Schock for additional details of co-conspirators' alleged involvement. It's moving slowly, Justice. Consequence will come slower than it needs to, slower than we would like, but it's happening. States like Arizona and Michigan, states like Georgia, there should be a statewide investigation, not just a Fulton County in Georgia, because Donald Trump and his conspirators attempted to deprive the citizens of these individual states of their right to vote. It's just what they did. And it cannot stand. We cannot allow, look, this isn't some county commissioner role, city council role, dog catcher. This is for President of the United States of America, the ramifications of which will ripple out across decades and generations in America. If we don't stand for our democracy, whether you're Republican or Democrat, we don't have the country we claim we have. We are not a democracy. It's not that hard. So I don't know why it took this long. I hope you're as irritated as me. I hope you maybe don't wear it on your sleeve like me. But this is an existential threat to our country. Anyway, what do you think? We can mix it up in the comments, have a conversation there. That would be great. You can also leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me as always, daily@dollemore.com. I would love to hear from you. If you appreciate what I do, if I bring you value on a video by video basis, please consider supporting this work, helping me create these videos. Click the join button below this video on YouTube to become a channel member for $2 a month. You can also go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast for $2 a month. You can help do just that. Help me produce these videos. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore everywhere. I'd love to see you there. And I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine. Take care of one another.